What's up, Joe 200? How are you? All right, so it's Sunday, October 17th. So hopefully you enjoyed your 4-day weekend, your little fall recess, and yeah, let's get on with it, okay? And just a heads up, you do have your midterm exam that you can take anytime this week, okay? We see that you can see here that we had it opened today, the 17th, and it'll be open all the way through a week from today, the 24th. Okay. Once you do open it, okay, you have 2 hours to get it done. 60 multiple choice questions. Okay, and there's some tips down here that Julia put together in terms of how to prepare in advance. Just looking simply at each of the topics is what's important. Okay, so go back and I'll be opening up our weekly topics and just remember where everything is. Now, what she has done is she has gone through here and given you a highlight of everything that happened each week. So this is your study guide. Okay. Um, and you go with your gut feeling. You guys are going to do fine. You can access your archived quizzes, okay? And so some of those same questions will be on board because we retrieve individual questions from pools that were put together for each week, okay? That you saw. Obviously, when you took the quizzes, if you took them together, you notice oftentimes you'd get different quiz questions. So like week one might have 20 questions in the pool, and then depending on what we're doing, we're retrieving one or two or three or four or five questions from that week. Okay, fight on. That's what it's all about there, brothers and sisters. Okay, so what are we going to do now? What we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and jump into our weekly assignment. And as promised, we are going into the more business side of this class. We're going to be again applying. Again, here's your weekly assignment. So just remember what was going on. We started global implications in terms of the overall impact of what we call non-communicable, non-infectious chronic diseases. Okay, we looked at the global impact at a society level, okay, of having a lot more older members in each society. We saw which countries were way ahead of the game. We know that Europe is way out there. Japan is the canary in the coal mine in terms of Asian countries, and then we're right in there too, okay. And then we looked at our own individual country in this section right here, and we were categorizing each generation so we could follow the generational impact amongst other things. And then we looked at how things changed in terms of issues at the workplace and savings and things like that. Okay, we did our biology, right? So we got a good feeling of why aging is the highest risk factor for diseases like cancer, diabetes, vascular disease, and as well as we looked at Alzheimer's disease, which again, age being the biggest risk factor, but then we also looked at other aspects of mental health. Okay, alrighty, so and we've kind of wrapped it up in terms of the potential contributors to this economic concern that we have with this imbalance that's happening in society as people are living longer. There are fewer people being born, reduced fertility, and what that does financially to you as an individual, financially to our individual communities and societies, and also so we're looking at local tax bases and local structure to help out in terms of caregiving, and then you keep doing this kind of extended layers and layers in the onion. That's what I was doing with this hand motion. So we're looking at what's happening at the state level, what's happening at the federal level to help deal with this caregiving issue, and it's a hot ticket item, a big part of the arguments that are going on right now in terms of Congress and Senate, and it has to do with helping fund caregiving. Okay. All right, so then we're going to jump in and reiterate all these things, but at a financial level, and that's what we're going to look at kind of global economics, okay? Then we're going to talk a little bit more about our country's economics, and then we're going to get into here, and I'm going to challenge you guys to go ahead and start working with your parents in terms of setting up your retirement accounts. Um, you can set up your own brokerage account right now, okay, if you're not working full-time. But as soon as you start working, then boom, you set up your own retirement account. And you can see how awesome this is. So that's my challenge to you guys. All right, so we saw caregiving. What was the financial impact of that? Okay, the economic impact of caregiving. Okay, first of all, it was the cost of caregiving. Could be depending on who you are. Okay, if you are financially well off, then yeah, so you could pay anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 a month to pay for the services that your older person in your life that needs care will cost. Okay, so and these were a whole spectrum of care, from just simple activities of daily living, like helping me wash my dishes, going to the store for me. Then we can up the ante. Maybe I need help getting up down the stairs, help dressing myself, help with bathing. I need help with medical services, on and on and on. Okay, so you can have an assisted living facility, okay, where you don't need nursing care, and then maybe this person is really bad off, okay, and maybe they can't get out of bed, okay. So then you need a skilled nursing facility, and that requires a lot more financing. What people are opting for is home health care and home health aides. All right. Again, we saw that really this is on you. Okay. So there's a minimum in terms of what you can expect from support from the government for a very short period of time if you've had some health issues, and then it's on you. Okay. Same thing with daycare for your children. It's on you. Okay. And so these are all big economic considerations. So it will initially bleed your resources dry. Okay, so you have these different types of savings, the equity in my home, okay, savings in my bank accounts, and then the retirement accounts, okay. But if you are in a nursing facility for 20 years, okay, it will be a significant blow to you financially. All right, cool. Um, and then there's the impact on you. Okay, so if you're an hourly employee, okay, and you have to take time off to go help in terms of home health aid, then that's time you're not working. Okay, even if you're not an hourly employee, let's say you're a salaried employee, but your ability to advance in terms of your career, okay, get promotions, is dependent on your productivity. Your productivity will take a hit if you're doing tons of caregiving. So these are all kind of considerations. Now let's look at some of the global issues of economics and aging. Again, my video that I'm making right here is going to go right in here. What we have here is PDF files. We have one. We start with one reading looking at kind of global economics. This is just a really review. You guys, we've seen this all already, but it's specifically looking at economic aspects of aging, and then we'll look at a couple of case studies right here in this NPR article. Okay, then we'll follow that up with the prompt that looks at employment in aging. Okay, and some of the considerations that you have to think about. Okay. All right, in your discussion. So let's go right into this article. It's a really cool article. All right, for my econ majors, which is awesome. All right, we'll even blow this thing up a little bit more. Boom. Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. So economic implications of an aging society. Okay. So it basically hits you over the head with the abstract right here. And we're looking at, so the big issue globally, and we can look from region to region, looking at country to country, is that this burden, this financial burden, okay? And so countries are consequently having to reconsider their pension healthcare provisions because, okay, there's an issue. We need to sustain public spending on pensions, okay, and healthcare, okay? So yes, I want my Social Security, I want my Medicare. It doesn't matter what country you're in, you can call it by a different name, but it's the same deal if you've been paying into this your whole life through taxation. However, we got this thing called a budget deficit, okay? And so we see this political battle that goes on every single year between the two dipoles of the Republican versus Democrats, and trying to keep a cap on our deficit. Okay, and so we just got an extension in terms of our budget ceiling that is through December. But the reality is we have to pay for everything that's happened up to this point in time. So it's not like people in Congress, the Senate, are completely surprised by, oh my God, we have all these costs. You've known it all along. All right, cool. All righty, so what is the big issue? Okay, take a look at this. 40% of our government spending, okay, in advanced economics is for this pension, which is, we have this, the simplest one would be, for example, our Social Security system. But other governments have these unbelievable pensions where people retire at age 50 and get, 75% of their salaries. And it just doesn't work in today's world where people are living to 90 years of age. And then, of course, the healthcare costs, as we know, they go up and up and up for every year that you live. Okay? All righty. So what are we looking at here? Okay, the concept that older people over the age of 60, right here, okay, will be equivalent to younger people under the age of 15 by 2050. Okay, and so it just creates an economic imbalance. All righty. So there are so in terms of this demographics of aging, there's a simple way of looking at this. We're looking at here at millions of people right here, okay, in the world, all right? And we see the distribution in 2010. So this was a paper that was written in 2014, okay? And so the data gathered from 2010, okay? And we can see the younger age group, again, 15 and below. So this is 15 to 19, so it would be right around here, 15 and below. As a percentage of the total population, we see here's the older age group. Here's 60 and above, okay? Males and females. See women outlive men. You can see that right there, okay? But then we look at the projection to 2050. Okay, and you see the balance in terms of the distribution. Look up here how lopsided it is getting in terms of those people over the age of 65, okay, or over the age of 60 is what they refer to in the abstract, okay. And so suddenly, while we still have plenty of millions of people, or we're going to still have population and momentum, people are still going to reproduce, but at a lower rate. But when you're drawing from close to 8 billion people, you're going to continue to have an increase in world population, but at the percent distribution, the societal impact, you see this shift. Okay, so it's hit you, like I said, right across the forehead when you look at something like that. Okay, all righty. So who's going to be the first? Okay, so Europe. Okay, Europe is the biggest one. Okay, and right there at the turn of the millennium, when we went into the 21st century. Okay. There were more people over 60 than over 15 in Europe, okay? North America, that's us, okay? In 2030, that's when we make that transition. Latin America and Asia, 2040, that transition. So this is, happening globally, okay? And we can see right here, okay, when we look at globally by 2050, we're going to go from 70 million people over the age of 80. So you start thinking about the financial impact. It's a lot bigger. First of all, people over 80, they have lower levels of consumption of goods, things that are being sold. So opening a restaurant, clothes, all that kind of stuff. People over 80 are not tapping into that, okay? But what they do, if you look at the economic balance, the spreadsheet in terms of our gross domestic product, what they do need is they need lots of financial support from Social Security and for healthcare, okay? And so we see that we're going to go by 2050 from almost 70 million, okay, we'll call it almost 70 million, that's 60 million, to 379 million, okay? So yeah, again, this is a real time point for you guys, 2050, very real, okay? It's not that far away, okay? It's only 29 years away, okay? That's nothing. And so we're gonna go with people in the world that are over 80. We're gonna basically do this almost sixfold, almost a sixfold increase. So that is a big, big deal. Something, that you're going to have to deal with economically. All righty? Cool, 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 cool. Okay, so what it does is it looks down at, again, the European Union, okay, and looking at the numbers. The concept of, but based on these age groups, those over 80 will constitute 12% of the European population. Okay, and this right here shows that it's going to triple in size. Okay, from 2010 to 2060. So that's a big deal, a big impact. Okay, certain other regions of the world. Okay, people don't live as long. Okay, so there's a higher mortality rate. They still have larger families. So the differential that we see here is not going to be as big of an impact, and we can see that when we look at the second figure in the paper right here, and that's right here. Okay, so we're looking over here, and it's looking at one of the drivers of this age differential is if you don't replace yourself, you don't have a lot of children, but old people are living longer, then like I said, it's going to create this imbalance. So we're looking at the fertility rates here, okay, and we see, of course, the Soviet Union, Europe, okay, this is China, Korea, Japan, Australia, North America, Brazil. You see that you're not even getting a replacement value. 2 people if you're lucky, all right? We see Central America right here, all right? South American countries, okay? They're having, again, lower fertility rates. It's only going to go down, and that's the point. So this data was from 2005 to 2010. And you can see how here these parts of Africa lags. That's what I was talking about. Awesome. Okay, so what is the driver? I don't even have to go through this, of this differential and the age distribution that we're looking at, comparing this age pyramid right here to this one right here. We know that that you're having fewer children, okay? And we'll discuss why, and the why is pretty obvious, okay? So you have lower fertility rates, okay? And why is this happening? Okay, well, we see big technological advances, okay, and changes in the labor market that have altered the cost and reward of marriage and child rearing. Sorry about that, okay? So basically, to get skilled, to get a good job, we've said this before, you guys are just saying, you know what, I'm not having kids yet, okay? If I'm lucky, I'm going to have 1, maybe 2. I'm going to do it in my 30s, all right? And there you have it, okay? So that's a complete shift in the labor market. The other thing that's happening too is you need more and more training to get a good job, okay? So yeah, it is a bummer that for you guys, your Gen Zers, that you're having still to be dependent on your parents and living at home. You're getting your master's degrees, your PhD, whatever it is, and then you're really getting into the job and the labor market that you desired. But that is a big driving force, okay? Alrighty. So, and we're also seeing, a cultural difference. Okay, so there used to be, an evolutionary link between sexual activity and procreation, also known as reproduction. All right, you had sex, you had kids. Boom. Okay. Guess what happened? Technology broke that link. Okay, we have this thing called birth control. Okay, and now people have sex out of preference, not out of the cultural norm of, say, I want to have kids. Okay, that's changed everything as well. Big time change. All right, cool. All right, so that's one, and again, it looks at different regions of the world, Asian and European countries, and this kind of low fertility trap. We highlighted Japan, and what was going on there. Okay, fewer births, fewer children. Okay, yeah, it just is a domino effect. Okay, your grandchildren will have fewer births and fewer children. You see on and on and on. Okay, that combined with what do we have here? Falling mortality. Okay, so I can get treated for my cancer. I can have triple bypass surgery. I can get rid of my diabetes. Hey, we're doing all this cultural revolution of better eating and exercising. Guess what? You know what? So I'm going to live longer and longer and longer. I'm still going to have a functional decline in the end. That's going to, hit you financially. Okay. So what are the implications? Okay, lots and lots and lots of things. Okay, first of all, labor markets. So in order for me to keep financing my life, I'm not going to retire, right? So older people are staying in the workforce longer and longer and longer. Okay, um, what is the other thing that happens? The older you get, the less likely you to be a consumer and driving the economy and buying the goods. Buying, buying new phones, buying new sunglasses. Okay, buying new clothes. That's far less likely to happen. Okay, but what will happen? I think I need to buy new sunglasses. What will happen though is that I'm going to save more and more and more and more. Okay, so there's a greater drive for me to save because I'm worried about having enough money to last me till I'm 100 years of age. Okay. This is going to also impact health and welfare services. If I decide not to work, I immediately go on to Medicare services, housing and transport, leisure, community behavior. All these things is all impacted. There's also the transfer of income that's going to change. If I live longer and longer and longer, my kids are less likely to inherit the money at a time when they really need it. All right, so that's pretty significant. Okay. So this has a lot to do with what I was talking about, this transfer of income, this family and this intergenerational transfer of my estate to my kids. It's going to happen later in life. Okay. So that means you're going to be sitting there as a Gen Zer and you're going to be saying, you know what? God bless my parents. I hope they live forever. But I do hope that money's coming. And when the money does come, hopefully then I can start having a family. So next you're 40 years old and then you finally get this inheritance, or you're 50 years old. So there's kind of a breakdown in that contract. Okay. All righty. So it reviews it over and over again. We are below replacement fertility. Is what it is. You guys, like I said, should have 3 or 4 kids. Right now you have a big 0. Okay. I'm going to live longer. Okay. And it's this interaction of the two that is causing this kind of societal economic concern that I'm talking about right now. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So one of the things that happens is we're going to have this shift in the labor market, and that's what this is all about. First of all, I'm going to work longer. I've already told Julia I'm probably working until I'm 72. Is what it is. I may even work longer. First of all, my friends that are retired are bored. You're still, because we live these more vital lifestyles. You're in your 60s and you're still charging it. And you're bored. So why not just keep working? All right, that is a big sense of fulfillment, and we're going to talk about fulfillment when we get into the discussion. So you need to find things that are fulfilling. Surfing is one of mine for sure. Hanging out with Julia is one of mine for sure. But being a professor is fulfilling as well. All right, so that's going to drive the labor market. All right. What else do we see here? In terms of these economic effects, macroeconomics, and the age composition, we're going to see, scroll down right here, we're going to see when you see this decline in proportion of younger people that are out there entering into the workforce, on a percentile basis compared to old people, this is perceived as a contributor to reduced economic activity for your community, for your state, for your country. Okay. And then the other thing is, so we have less, drivers of the economy being put in because of reduced fertility, but more older people. Again, this is this gross domestic product minus, okay, subtracting Social Security, subtracting minus the cost of Medicare, okay, and other types of services. This is a burden, okay. So this is, again, this big economic impact. All right. Okay. And again, there's certain assumptions that are being made. Okay. One thing that also happens is that even I'm going to stay in there longer, I'm going to be less productive than a younger person. That's a big assumption. Probably true. Probably true. I mean, the reality is, I don't have the stamina to work 15-hour days. I don't. I did when I was younger. Julia did when she was younger. When she was a junior associate right out of law school working for a law firm, she routinely worked 15-hour days. You just can't do that when you get older. So there is definitely a lot of truth to that. Is it as easy for me to keep up with the technology? Not so much. Not so much. I need a lot more time to kind of absorb it before I put it to use. So all these different things that come into concern right here. Okay. Okay. Um, and then it kind of goes through, it whittles it all down and looks at different countries. Now, Korea is a big one. Like I said Japan was the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, for Asian countries in this shift into demographics. But Korea, okay, is the most rapidly aging country. When I say talking about South Korea, okay. And so it's going to be moving from being the third youngest country in terms of this economic group when it was studied here and reported here in 2014, studied down in 2010, to the second oldest group, okay, in 2050, okay? And so what are we looking at here? So it's a big part of it is you're looking at the dependency ratio that we've talked about before, okay? And you can see the shift that is happening worldwide. Okay, everything we've talked about. All right. So these are the people that maybe aren't working yet. Okay, ages 20 to 24. These are the people that are on the other end, maybe retiring, or certainly are a burden in terms of the gross domestic product, in terms of the finances of our country, a drain. Okay, and you can see this shift is happening right here. Now, this is, again, looking at all the countries. If you look at the individual countries, the divide can be much, much greater. All right. So we have to address this. All right. So we gotta figure out a way to get more young people in there so that when they are taxed, their tax revenue goes further to paying for the needs, the burden of the older people. All right. So one of the big hot ticket items, okay, in the new budget that was just being put before Congress and the Senate, is that we wanted to give credit, okay, for childbearing, meaning we wanted to help you guys out with financial resources as a country so that you had money to pay for childcare so that you can go out there and work. Okay, it's a big deal. All right, so we need these family friendly policies. Okay, and everybody wants it. I'm sure you guys want it. It was a big deal for us. In fact, I will tell you the truth. Way back when, okay, for us, Julia had our second child. He was 1.5 approaching 2. This was 20-something years ago. She was making buck, okay, as an attorney, as a managing counsel for a large corporation. But we had this come to Jesus lunch where because so many things were happening, and she said, I can't do this anymore. All right. So she left the workplace, okay, because of childcare issues, all right, amongst others, but it was a contributing factor. All right. So this is a big deal. All righty. Sorry, guys. Let me go back to where I was at here. Okay. Okay. With this change in the dependency ratio, okay, if there's less resources, not only at a government level to pay for pensions, but companies no longer offer these guaranteed pensions. So you have to put your money into an account that is tax-free that you can tap into later on that we're going to talk about. These are called 401ks, okay, if it is supported directly by your employer where they put funds away, tax deferred, so they put them into this account. You don't pay taxes on it. You only pay taxes on it when you access it in retirement, okay? Or let's say you don't work for a company and you just have to wrap your head around your own world when you're 70. These are called individual retirement accounts that you would put money away, all right? So these are, again, more incentives have to be put out there because so that way people don't have to work as long. But people are working longer, okay? And there's a consequence of this, okay? So so what we have to do here is we have to enable people to remain active and productive and contribute. Okay, and have better work environments because people are not going to have enough money to retire as early as they used to. And that's what this is all about right here. Okay. All righty. As we scroll down here, okay, we have to think about long-term care provisions and how incentives to help us finance this, okay? And this is, for both health and social care. Remember last time we saw that they showed all the countries globally and the resources put forth by the government for health services, okay? Stuff like Medicare, okay, and social care, all right, home health aid, and we were at the bottom. Even though our GDP was at the highest, we were at the freaking bottom, okay? So these are all things worth considering bottom globally, okay? Okay, awesome. So I'm just kind of scrolling through that. You guys go and take a look at this. We look at healthcare costs. There is this inequity, okay, and we can see this right here, okay. And we see right here, this is life expectancy as a function of income. No big surprise. Low-income individuals in the world, okay, have a much lower life expectancy than high-income individuals in the world, okay. And we see also that there's not only you have this life expectancy with burden, but we see this healthy life expectancy and how this has gone up and up and up and up. We saw declines at both levels here from opioid epidemics and from the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic that resulted in COVID-19 disease and death. Okay, so we got to address these changes, and that's what this is all about. And this is what's being battled all the time at local, state, and federal levels in terms of government. And what can the government do? How can they help? And one big thing we can do is in terms of getting younger workers is to redefine our immigration policy. That brings in younger workers, okay? And like I said, create a social situation where it's easier for you guys to have children, all right? What's happening is in our country is, like I said, this change in family structures, this delayed life transitions. You guys are not getting married, you're not having kids. Maybe we can do something to help that, okay? And then there's this kind of intergenerational contract. Maybe we can figure out a way to make it easier for me to transfer my assets to my children and not suffer some type of tax burden from that. So these are all things worth considering. Awesome. Okay, cool. So that's what that's all about, guys. And then we come down here and we look. This is the article that looks at individual examples. Okay. And there's a nice, again, there's a 2019 article, and it looks at a couple of examples of what's going on. So you start here with Bob Orozco right here, and Bob moved out to Southern California when he was 59. He's now 89. Luckily, he was in retirement mode, and then he got a job with the YMCA as well. And so he when you see this article, expounds this concept. What am I going to do? I'm not going to sit at home and do nothing, So he's very active and engaged, and it's really increased his level of what we would call here, right there, healthy life expectancy. Okay, which is awesome for Bob. Okay, there's this kind of some shock and awe numbers down here. Okay, and that is, and when we look at our country in 2019, 1 in 4 adults age 65 and older are still in the workforce, and then this is becoming the norm because there's just not enough money in each individual's pocket to finance retirement. Okay, so older members, people over the 65, are the fastest growing segment of employment in the United States. Okay. This talks right here about the old days, okay, where there were pensions. And you were paid a fixed stipend for life as a portion of your salary. That's gone. So now what you need to do is contribute to a 401k. If you work for a large company, We work for a nonprofit, believe it or not, at USC. So ours is called a 403B. It's the same concept, and it's a good way to save for your retirement. Versus that's called a defined contribution because I define how much I'm contributing to my future retirement. The old days used to be a pension. My dad worked for Bank of America. He got a pension, and it was a set amount he got. It didn't no matter how long he lived. If he lived to 150, he was always going to have that money every single year. Me, if I burn through my 401k, that's it. I'm on my own. Okay, I'd have to just live on Social Security. So that's a big difference right there. Okay. It's sensitive to the investments that's going on in our country. So a lot of people lost a lot of money in their 401ks. We didn't because we were smart about it in terms of how we invested. You don't take super risk as you get older. We're going to educate you about that in one of the final weeks of the class. Okay. And guess what? It came raging back. So I look like a genius by leaving it in there. Okay. All righty. So some other shock and awe, okay? We see there that 1/4 of retirees get 90% of their income from Social Security. And we'll look later on at a couple of workers where this is the example. All right, so then Bob goes in here and he talks about being Bob and how much he loves hanging out, being engaged, he says, if I retired, I don't know what I'd be doing myself. I hear that over and over and over again. Okay, so you need to have this purposeful life, and the more purposeful you are in what you do in your retirement years, guess what? The more healthy your aging is. Okay, most Americans right here says we don't think that they are going to even retire, that they're going to work to the bitter end. Some, have to stop earlier than planned, and that's because of setbacks, whether it be health, just reorg in the company, or age discrimination. Again, like I said, I don't have the giddy up that I used to have, and employers know that. Okay. Alrighty, cool. Here's another example right here. So this is so Kylie Cohen. Okay. So she worked in Hollywood, okay, as a TV copywriter. Raised 2 children as a single divorced mother, okay, and she lives on food stamps and Social Security, okay. Now, she goes into this article and talks about being blessed that she was able to find what's called affordable housing. This is subsidized housing in the Long Beach area. It's a Long Beach Senior Arts Colony. You can check this out if you wish right here, okay. It says right here, so that 79% of her monthly Social Security check goes to pay rent, and she's left with $245 a month for the rest of the month. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? This means she's getting, I did the math behind the scenes, she's living on about $1,600 a month, okay, of which, again, the majority, 79% is going towards just paying the rent. Okay. Here's a good friend of hers, Veronica Bryant. It's the same story. So they're having to do go to food banks. They're having to be very, very creative just to survive. Okay. So she had, sadly had to declare bankruptcy last year at an old age, and it really, really threw her off. This is just, a contributing factor to our unhoused homelessness situation that we have in our country. Okay, women, okay, I have a tougher time with it. Okay, the burden of child care is mostly on women. Okay, when there's a divorce, the burden mostly on women. Okay, how does that impact their career trajectory? It screws them. Okay, on and on and on and on. Okay, so yes, and women live longer than men. All right. Alrighty, so there's those two, and then it talks about Carrie Eagles here. She's 70. Luckily, she was able to retire with a good retirement program through her own personal investment. She was a teacher, okay, so she gets a pension, okay. It's a defined benefit. It's never going to go away as long as she lives, okay. So she stays active, okay, through volunteering, and this is a big deal. It's, as indicated right here, $73 billion of contribution to our country's well-being financially comes from the volunteer work that older Americans do. All right, so that's just 3 case studies, something to wrap your head around. Very cool. All right, so what we want to do down here is we're going to go down to the discussion. Sorry for the small print here. Okay, and I want you to think about these different work experiences, how they affect one's aging. Okay, and you look at these 3 different examples that we just talked about, but also I want you to consider these 3 videos. Okay, again, they were from around 2009, but the stories ring true here in 2021. Okay, so we're talking about joblessness accelerating the aging process. And it was really a huge impact during the Great Recession, but it's still an issue for older people that don't have the money to survive right now. Okay, how it's tough to be competitive. That's what this one's all about. Okay, and then this is just kind of a lack of skill sets or education and how that impacts employment in our country. Okay, all righty. So read through the prompt, talk about it, and have a great week, guys, and do well on your midterm. All right. So with that, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to shift my way over here and go like so. There's my beautiful wife, and say peace, fight on, and stop.